Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the Political Insider. I'm Brett Smith, your humble host, and joining me today is the legendary Juanita Broaddrick. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us again on the Political Insider. It's been a couple of years. You sat down originally with James, who was the first host for Political Insider.
Yeah.
And great to have you back.
Oh, thanks. It's nice to be with you, Brett.
So last time you were on, you talked with James about your history with Bill Clinton. And you wrote a book about it, and I'm going to bring that book up. You know, and one of the things I was thinking about was there's probably at least one generation that really don't know who you are, and that would be probably the Gen Zers. A lot of the millennials were born in, in the 80s and the 90s, so some of the older millennials are going to know who you are. But the Gen Zers, they don't know your story, they don't know who you are, and so I thought it'd be a good opportunity for you to tell us about yourself, and they can learn about you as well.
Sure. I'm a registered nurse, and I used to own nursing homes. And back in 1978, I met Bill Clinton. I also worked in as a volunteer in his campaign when he was running for governor. He came by my nursing home one day while he was touring businesses in the area. And I began to talk to him. And that's when that picture was made.
Okay.
It's on the front of my book. Mm-hmm. And I was talking with him about the nursing homes and the struggles I was having as a nursing home owner and all the nursing homes. And so he sort of stopped me in mid-sentence and he said, I'd like to talk to you about that. Are you ever in Little Rock? And I said, yes, I'll be there at a nursing home seminar in about 3 weeks. So that's how I ended up in Little Rock, and how I met Bill Clinton and how everything happened. And would you like me to go in and talk about that?
Sure, if you want to. It's obviously all detailed in your book, which we've got up on the screen, which I encourage everyone to to log on to Amazon and buy, because it's a great read. I have a signed copy, but sure, if you want to go into that, that's fine.
Okay, yeah, I'd be happy to. It was it's a difficult thing to talk about.
I know it is. Yeah, I know it is.
So I was so excited about going to Little Rock and talking to him about the nursing homes and the problems we were having. And I worked for a couple of nights getting my files and everything ready to show him how underpaid we were with the per diem from the Medicaid and Medicare. So I got all that ready. My nurse and I drive to Little Rock on April the 24th, 1978. And when we get there, we check into the Camelot Hotel. The next morning when we get up, I call his office, and the young lady gives me a number to call. I call it, and he answers the phone. And I tell him, I said, this is Miss Hickey. That was my name at that time. And he said, oh, yes, I remember you. I said, my nurse and I are here, and we'd like to run over to your office at noon and bring you this information that I worked up for you about the nursing home rate. And he just sort of stopped, and he said, I'm not going to be there today. And I thought, oh, Lord, well, at least maybe I can go over and leave it at his office. So then he says, why don't I just come to your hotel right now? So I think, that's great. I'm not going to have to drive clear across town. So he said, I said, that would be awesome. So he says, okay, I'll be over there in a little bit, and I'll call your room when I get there and meet you down in the Camelot coffee shop. So I turned to Norman and say, you go on and sign us in, and when I get through in the coffee shop, I'll be right there. So I wait in the room. Then the phone rings about 15, 20 minutes later, and it's Bill Clinton. And he says, Juanita, he said, it's so crowded down here. I don't think we're going to be able to talk. And he said, there's even reporters. He said, do you care if we talk about this and have coffee in your room? And I don't care if it's been 42 years. I can remember being very apprehensive. I didn't know this man. I had very slightly met him at my nursing home. I didn't know him. But then in the back of your mind, you think, this is the Attorney General. This will be okay. So I told him fine, and I would order coffee to the room. And that's what I did. And that was the biggest mistake of my life. It's a very difficult thing to talk about, but when he comes to my room, it's like we're starting a business meeting. And then he asked me to come over to where he's standing around this big table that we had, where I had all the information and the coffee on. And I walk around there, and he starts talking about a little building down below. It was an old 1800. We were situated up on about the 4th floor. You looked down on the Arkansas River, and you saw all these old buildings that lined the Arkansas River. Mm-hmm. One of them was an old 1800 jailhouse that he said he wanted to restore. And I look at it, and then I start back around, and that's when he grabbed me, and things went really bad. I screamed. I told him no. I was absolutely in shock about what was happening. He would try to kiss me, and I would push him away, and then he would grab me. I was only about 110 pounds at the time, and he's a very large man.
Yeah.
No way I could get away from him, and it was vicious. The whole thing was vicious. I can't even begin to tell you. Then after the rape was over, during the rape, every time I would scream, he would bite on my upper lip. My upper lip was bleeding. I thought he was going to bite my lip off. It was so painful at times. So eventually I stopped screaming because I didn't want any more damage done to my lip. And then after it was over with, my lip was so swollen and already beginning to bruise and throbbing. Of course, I hurt all over.
Yeah.
I was sitting up on the side of the bed, and he gets up, straightens himself, walks to the foot of the bed, and looks at me like, "What are you crying about?" And first thing he says to me is, "Don't worry, I'm sterile. I had mumps when I was a boy." I could have said I had complication from mumps. I don't remember, but the mumps I remember him saying, and sterile I remember him saying. Mm-hmm. And I thought, good God, why are you telling me that? And then I cried that much harder. And then he puts on his sunglasses and his suit coat and walks to the door, and then he motions to my mouth and says, "You'd better put some ice on that," and walks out the door. I'm sitting there in disbelief what had just happened to me. So I rush over to the door and I lock it. Mm-hmm. And because I'm so afraid. And I even say this in my book. At the moment I thought, my God, I got to lock that door because somebody's going to come in to try to get rid of the body. Because I mean, that's what I felt like.
Yeah.
Went back and laid down and just laid there in shock. And then about 30 minutes later, there's a knock at my door, and it's my nurse looking for me because I never showed up for the meeting.
Right.
I open the door, and she sees me, and she comes in and grabs me, and I tell her what happened. And then she's sitting there. We're both nurses. This is the Attorney General. He is the police. I can't go to the police. There weren't rape kits back there, but it probably wouldn't have done one if they had been because I was too frightened. He was not only the lead official policeman in my state, he also regulated my business as Attorney General.
Wow.
And she looked at me and she says, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "Just take me home." So that's what we did.
Right. And so you stayed silent on that for a long time.
Oh, very long time. I'm telling you, there's no way. I mean, I was going to ask for help. And then you see on the front of my book how I survived being raped by Bill Clinton. Mm-hmm. The real story here is I absolutely threw myself into my work. When I would sometimes get up in the middle of the night when I was having bad dreams or a panic attack, and I would just go to the nursing home and work. Mm-hmm. And hard work is what got me through that. And of course my family and my church, but being occupied with making your business grow, I mean, that was a huge thing to me, and it helped me forget.
Yeah, you're growing your business. You're also helping others. I totally get that, and I think that's healthy. Frankly, whenever you survive any kind of trauma, any kind of loss. I lost my mom to cancer in 2014, and I did the same thing you did. I just threw myself into work.
Yeah,
and that occupied me and helped me cope with it and work my way through it. kind of incrementally, and I think that work can be extremely therapeutic. That's for sure.
Oh, it was for me. Yeah.
So it was, and I didn't even know this until we were talking off air. It was the Paula Jones lawsuit which brought you back into the fold. Because I was in high school. Just to give some context, we were talking about the different generations that might not know who you are. I'm a bicentennial baby, so I was in high school when your story broke, and Monica Lewinsky and Paula Jones. And I wasn't really paying attention to politics. I was more focused on girls and high school and my garage band that I was playing at the time, the stuff that a teenager is focused on. But I remember my parents were, very much taken with your story, and it changed everything for them. It changed how they looked on Bill Clinton, and it changed. I think it changed the perspective for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Your story coming out, even though it wasn't a story that you necessarily wanted to come out.
Yeah. Oh, no, I didn't at all. Well, like I said, the rumors had been around because I had told 5 people, and it's naturally going to leak out. But there had always been rumors, and from probably 1992 when he first ran for president on up, I would get calls at least once a month, sometime twice a month, from some reporter saying, we would like to ask you about your allegations of being raped by Bill Clinton. And I would just hang up the phone. And then all of a sudden one day in 1997, 2 investigators show up at my front door. And what's so funny about this is I lived on 40 acres, and it was all completely fenced, had a gate down below that you couldn't get in without the, knowing the code to it. And they climbed over the fence and walked up my long driveway.
Ooh.
But they were nice. It was a nice looking couple, so I didn't invite them in my house, but I did go out on the front porch to talk to them. And they were there representing Paula Jones' attorneys. And do you know who they were?
No.
Rick and Beverly Lambert, the parents of Miranda Lambert.
Okay.
She was, the country singer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Girl, they had an investigating firm, and that's who they were. We talked many times since then. But anyway,
small world. Wow.
They were trying to get me to come forward and be one of the witnesses in the Paula Jones suit. And I told them real quick, I said, I'm not your girl. My life is fine now, and I don't want to be drug into that. That was a horrible thing that happened to me, and I don't want anything to do with it. The conversation went on, and it was casual for about, 10 minutes or so, and that transcript is on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
But I had no idea they were recording me. They went back, and I thought, well, that's that. I won't have to go through that. And probably within 3 to 4 weeks, I got a letter from their attorneys that I would be deposed. And I was angry.
I'll bet.
Angry big time.
Yeah.
And I told my son, I'm not going to tell them what happened. And my son's an attorney, and he said, Mom, you have to do what you want to do. I'm not going to interfere in this. So I went to the deposition, told them nothing had happened. I did not know what in the world they were talking about. First, we submitted a written denial of what they were asking, and then I was forced in to do the actual in-person deposition, and I denied it to both. And when I walked out of that deposition, I turned and looked at those attorneys for Paula Jones and just gave them a glare, thinking, I told you not to bring me in this. I don't want to be involved.
Yeah.
And so I walked out of there feeling really good. But then about 2 weeks later, I didn't feel so good because they turned that recording of me on my front porch. They sent that to Ken Starr. So
Right.
Here comes Ken Starr. And when Ken Starr notifies my attorney notifies my son because he's the second attorney. And he comes over to my home. I remember sitting at my kitchen counter, and he was saying, Mom, it's time to come forward. You have to tell the truth. I had told him when he was about 19 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I can't do it. I'm not going to get involved in all that. And then he says, Mom, he said, Paula Jones' suit was a civil suit. This suit with Ken Starr is federal and it's serious. And man, I just had to think about it. But he finally convinced me that I had to finally come through and tell the truth this time.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, it takes a lot of courage to do what you did.
Oh, during that deposition, here's all these strangers that I'm telling
Right.
the most horrible event of my life, telling them all about it and let them asking questions. It was horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, did you feel, I mean, at that point, did you start to kind of come around to feeling that you kind of had a duty to do it in a way?
Yeah, but I had been speaking with Lisa Myers for about 8 or 9 months prior to that about her wanting me to come forward. She knew all of this was happening with Paula Jones and that Ken Starr would eventually be into it, and I just sort of denied it to myself. So after I had to finally admit it, Lisa wrote me a long letter, and it's in my book, telling me that this is going to be spinned every which way but loose.
Yeah.
And she said, you really need to think about coming and telling it in your own words what really happened. So that's what made me finally come through. And it was mainly too because of the impeachment. I wanted this to be out there for people to know, and for these congressional people to know what this man had done to me. It was important. And then after I did that deposition with Ken Starr, none of the Democrats would read it. All the Republicans did, but not one Democrat read my deposition before they went in to vote. Yeah. And NBC holds the Dateline interview until after the impeachment. And that was, I mean, I couldn't believe that they did that.
Yeah, I can. It's par for the course these days, but back then that was quite a shocking move for Dateline to hold that.
Yeah,
I remember that also being a topic of conversation among my parents. Why was this held back? Because everybody knew about it, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
It hadn't aired yet, so nobody knew the details.
And all these people on Fox News, Britt Hume, in fact, I spoke with Britt a while back, and he still has it, showed up one day. There was about 4 or 5 of them showed up on this show with free Lisa Myers buttons. They wanted it aired before the impeachment was over.
Wow.
So that made me feel good.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Wow. I mean, those guys had, it's interesting. The press had integrity. The press, there are certain people in the press that have integrity. Britt's one of those guys. He's always been one of those guys. I don't agree with him all the time. And sometimes he gets a little he gets a little too grumpy old man for me, and he'd probably agree with that.
The time he's good.
He really is. He's there's no BS with Britt. And that's one of the reasons why I never miss Special Report when he was hosting it. So I like Brett. He does a good job.
Yeah.
And I think he's kind of carrying on in the same vein. So that's amazing. It's also it's smart that you did that, because it's like you were saying, if the story's got to come from somewhere, it better, it might as well come from you, your words, your, the way it happened to you. That way nobody else is out there telling it.
Oh, exactly. And after that, probably one of the worst people to talk bad about me after the NBC Dateline interview was Geraldo Rivera. And I still to this day do not have any respect for him. But the media attacked me. Personal people, I got letters from all over the world from people in support, but these are regular people. These weren't media people. I did get a wonderful letter from Tony Snow. Do you remember him?
Oh, I was just thinking about him because that guy, we'll get to Chris Wallace later, but nobody has been able to take the place of Tony Snow. Fox News Sunday has never been the same.
Yeah.
It's never had the same integrity. And even Kayleigh McEnany, she has definitely raised the bar to a whole new level. But Tony was so special.
Yeah.
And for me, I used to listen to Tony sub in for Rush. That's
Yeah.
where I first was introduced to Tony.
Yeah.
So,
And I'm so just appreciative that how Rush has supported me all these years. So kind.
God bless Rush. He's doing. I've spoken to Rush twice on his show, and in the past, one time I made him laugh. I don't remember what it was over, and the other time we were talking, I think in '04, and we disagreed on the phone, which was kind of interesting. But I wish I had recordings of that stuff because it'd be great. But he's been fantastic, and he's kicking a lot of butt. I'm really proud of him as far as his cancer. So I think Rush is determined to stay healthy through the election and to help Trump get reelected. I think that is his mission. So, but Rush has been fantastic. It's interesting. There's been a lot of allies of yours, and they're all largely on the right. Once in a blue moon, you get. We were talking about that Slate interview. You get someone on the left that gives you, a fair shot, and doesn't smear or put spin, as far as your story.
Right.
But it's
and then you had Michelle Goldberg with the New York Times and the headlines. I believe Juanita. I think it was in October of 2017. I almost fell out of my chair. Couldn't believe it. And people know that this is true, that this is the kind of man he is, but they just don't want to accept it. But they know it's the truth.
Well, when you had Paula, when you had you had Kathleen Willey, and then there was in 2016 there was a fourth woman.
Leslie Millway.
Say her name again.
Leslie Millway.
Right, and I had never heard of her until 2016. But all of you guys had a little reunion at the debate between Trump and Hillary, and you've got that kind of infamous photo of Bill Clinton sort of looking over at you guys all wide-eyed, because I think that had been the first time that any of you have been in the same room together for a long time.
That was something. After the NBC Dateline thing, I just went back into the woodwork. I wanted nothing to do with the media. I wanted nothing to do with the Clintons. I was out of it until, and I think most people maybe know this now, until Hillary made that tweet that all victims of sexual abuse should come forward and be believed, and we're with you. And I thought, I see that? And
right.
And I looked at it again and I thought, oh my God, she's not serious, is she? And so I thought, I have to answer this.
Yeah.
And I wasn't that familiar with Twitter at all. So I had my little 11-year-old grandson come show me how to really use it. I had signed on Twitter, but not tweeted any. And so that's when I made that tweet. And that's when people said, who in the hell is this woman?
Wow.
And I said, in answering her tweet, I was 35 years old when Bill Clinton, the Arkansas Attorney General, raped me, and Hillary tried to silence me. I'm now 73, and it never goes away. And I thought, I didn't have any idea the power of Twitter. I knew nothing about it, that it was instant and worldwide.
Right.
And I clicked tweet. And then my life changed forever.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I remember that when Hillary tweeted that out, and we were going through the early stages of the whole Me Too movement and everything, and I kind of had the same feeling and the same thoughts. It was kind of like, wow, she really tweeted that?
Oh, you goofed. I would never have come back into the the situation.
She just started the whole conversation.
Yes.
Of which, like I was saying, maybe a generation and a half of Americans didn't really know about. Maybe they had heard about impeachment, and they knew that it had something to do over an intern, but they might not have known the details about you and Paula and Kathleen. So, she really stepped in it. That's for sure.
She stepped in it big time, Greg.
And it launched your Twitter profile, which is a lot of people follow you, and you are kind of a megaphone, for issues and whatnot. So that's amazing. The irony, Hillary dragging you out of the shadows.
Yeah, I would never have come out had she not. It was just the irony of it, that she couldn't say that after protecting her predator husband all those years.
Yeah, that's gosh, that's just
Yeah.
unbelievable. We can move on to let's talk the debates because that was just
Yeah.
absolutely insane last night. So obviously last night, we had the first debate between Trump and Biden, probably the most highly anticipated debate since maybe Nixon Kennedy. What were your initial thoughts on it?
I thought it was a disaster from the beginning. I thought, surely they'll get some order about this. And I think what upset me the most was um, Chris Wallace cautioning Trump not to butt in, and Biden was doing just as much. The difference was Trump was doing it with a forceful attitude, and here's Biden over here mumbling.
Yeah.
But it was the same.
Yeah, Biden looked like he was kind of barely getting through it. I think to me, he looked like he was just sort of treading water.
Right.
And,
You see the wire?
I saw something on his lapel.
Yeah, James Woods tweeted that this morning or last night.
Right.
And you can see this wire. He's trying to hide it, and you can see the wire there on top of his white shirt. And then he had something under one sleeve.
I saw that too. Somebody said that the thing under the sleeve might have been some kind of a rosary bracelet that he had, but I don't know. I don't know what's going on here.
Either, but I know that he kept looking down. He looked down so much.
Right.
And like he was listening to someone or reading something. I mean, he was forever looking down at something.
The expectations for Biden were so low going into last night that frankly,
all he had to do was show up and breathe.
Yeah.
To be a success.
Yeah, it's that old adage of maybe Woody Allen said it. It was 70% of politics is just showing up.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was.
And that's kind of what he did last night. He showed up. He kind of stumbled through. I think he had a couple decent moments, if I'm being objective about it. He did better than I figured, but at the same time, it's like I said, the bar was lowered tremendously. So whatever he did was going to be, fantastic.
Yeah, the biggest loser last night, Brett, was the American people. We couldn't get anything out of that. That was, I think if you were going to vote for Trump before that, you're still going to vote for him. If you were going to vote for Biden before that, I don't think it changed any minds.
I don't think it did either.
No. And I think they'll have to do something different for the next forum, however they're going to do it.
Well, and how are they going to do that? I mean, how are they going to how are you going to muzzle Trump? How are you going to keep Trump from just basically doing what he wants to do?
They'll have to shut off the microphones or do something. Give that person 2 minutes, let them talk. And then the best thing that Trump can do is when he comes back on in his 2 minutes is to say what's lies and wrong about whatever Biden just said.
Yeah.
Because everything that comes out of his mouth is a lie.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think there was a winner last night? If out of all that mayhem?
No, I think it was. I don't think you can declare one because it's just what you said. It was mayhem. It was a disaster. The one that won last night for being the biggest. I don't want to say it on your program. Was Chris Wallace.
Yeah.
I mean, he would call Trump down and then say, "Mr. Vice President," and let him answer something. I think Chris Wallace did himself and the American people a huge just injustice last night.
Even some of the Fox News hosts were taking shots at Wallace last night. They were veiled shots. I mean, they were obviously trying to be respectful to their coworker, but a lot of people had issues, including some at FNC with Chris's moderator skills last night. It was really bizarre. It was almost kind of like he was holding Biden's hand through it, and not allowing Trump, the same kind of courtesy. It was really bizarre.
Well, he dislikes Trump so much, and we know that.
It's obvious. Yeah.
The two moderators are going to be a whole lot different.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the next one's going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, I think some of the questions were fair, but at the same time, I just don't like how it was kind of, giving Biden more time and cutting Biden a lot of slack, where he wasn't going after Biden the same way that he was going after Trump over some of the answers that Biden was giving. So that's where I had problems with. It's kind of like, be equal to both sides, Chris Wallace. And I just don't think the guy's capable of it, frankly.
Oh no, I don't think I mean, his disgust for Trump is so evident. He was not the right moderator for that at all.
No, I would have liked to seen Tucker, but
That would be good.
that would be cool.
If Tucker would moderate, and Tucker attacks Trump too. I mean, to me, he's more nonpartisan than anyone on Fox News.
I think Tucker's probably the most fair and balanced.
Yeah.
I mean, really straight down the middle. I know that Tucker personally leans center right, and that's fine. But when I just think about being fair, I don't think there's really anybody on there that's more fair than Tucker.
Oh, I agree completely. He's my go-to on Fox, completely. But it's like you said, the bar was set so low for Biden. He just had to show up.
Oh, I gotta, one thing.
I didn't expect that. I expected him. But I think if Trump had let him ramble more, I think that would have been better.
I agree. I think Trump should have allowed, he should have given Biden a little more rope.
Yeah.
And just kind of step back a little bit and let Biden just kind of drone on, because what Biden was saying was, I mean, a lot of it was barely incoherent. So, I mean, he was really barely getting through the debates as far as the answers.
I know, and I feel like he was wired. And I have no doubt that the man was wired. I mean, with that he could hear or see something. I just I don't think he could have done as well as he did last night without help.
It's something I wanted to bring up to you. My buddy sent this to me today. Joy Behar, everybody's favorite co-host on The View, whatever. She tweeted this out. She said, and it basically, it's a veiled shot at you. Trump showed up at one of the debates with Hillary. Trump showed up at one of the debates with Hillary with Bill Clinton's accusers. Biden should show up with an IRS auditor. Hardy har har. It's just unbelievable. I mean, all these years later, they're still going after you. It's just unreal.
I know. Did you see my reply?
No, I did not. Is it?
There are a few choice names, because at that time she referred to us as tramps and had to apologize the next day on TV. And yeah, I won't repeat it here, what I've tweeted.
I'll encourage everyone to follow you and to read it themselves, because it's probably not safe for our channel.
No.
But totally justified.
Yeah.
Completely justified.
Yeah.
So I didn't know she called you guys tramps. I love how she calls you accusers. So again, Hillary's mantra of believe all women, the Me Too, I guess it doesn't apply to women who are and not friends of Bill.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I guess they made her apologize, because she did the next day after calling all of us tramps.
Unbelievable. Yeah, people, that's another thing that certain generations are not going to remember is the slut shaming.
Oh.
Carville and Stephanopoulos.
Oh, yeah.
These guys who were, Stephanopoulos is now, Mr. Anchor. But those of us old enough to remember this guy was a Bill Clinton stooge, along with Carville. He was sent out there to almost like a hit squad.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, as far as the overall election, what do you think of these polls that have Biden up with like a huge lead? Some of them are tightening, but are you believing any of these polls?
No. I know absolutely no one who's ever been polled. And I mean, I've even sent out questions on Twitter. Have you ever been polled? No one has answered affirmatively. Anybody that follows me, and I've got over 400,000 followers, and I never see anything around here but Trump signs. I've never seen a Biden sign anywhere I travel in Arkansas. It's always Trump. But Arkansas will vote Trump.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've been voting Republican since 2001. I've never been polled.
Yeah.
So I mean, I get these robocalls, but those are just recorded messages. But no, I've never actually had answer the phone. Hey, would you like to be polled? Or this is a poll. That's never happened to me.
Me either. Never happened to me.
Yeah.
The biggest percentage of their polls are taken from Democrats, and we all know that. I don't believe in the polls. There's no enthusiasm for Joe Biden, and you see this great groundswell of enthusiasm about Donald Trump. But I think it's going to take a landslide, which will counteract all the mail-in votes in order for this not to end up at the Supreme Court.
Yeah, we've got to really overwhelm them. With on election day, I think that the only way the Democrats really win is with voter shenanigans.
Yeah.
The ballot harvesting, and oh hey, we just found these 200,000 ballots behind the Safeway.
Yeah.
Where did these come from? Oh well, these must be counted. It's a combination of the voter suppression, the ballot harvesting, the mail-ins, and then on top of that, getting stuck in some kind of a Bush v. Gore, which was insane. I was thinking about this the other day back in 2001, and that was the first presidential election I ever voted in. We went 35, 40 days without knowing who the president was.
Yeah, I remember the hanging Chad.
The hanging Chad. Yeah, remember that guy standing there with he had a magnifying glass, and they're sitting there and they're looking at these barely perforated Chads. Is it hanging? Is it punched all the way? That was madness.
Yeah, and then these people getting 2 and 3 ballots in the mail.
Yeah,
dozens of ballots in the mail.
they had like 10 military ballots that were thrown out, found in the trash the other day. This is
typical of that. So we've got to get the vote out, and he's got to have this tremendous in-person vote at the polls that wipes out any possibility.
Yeah, we really need something as close to Reagan '84 as possible.
Yes. Yeah.
And for the generations that don't remember, Reagan swept every state except Minnesota, which was Mondale's home state, and he never went and campaigned in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And I've heard this. I think Larry Schweikert told me this, that because he just wrote a great book on Reagan, but he said that Reagan wouldn't campaign in Minnesota because he wanted to leave Mondale with his dignity.
Oh my God.
I mean, can you imagine just sweeping everything if he won Minnesota? I mean, the guy, then the guy's got to go and live in a cave for the rest of his life or something. It's just, you have no dignity left whatsoever after that. So it was, but I'm hoping for. I think we'll get a not only electoral win, but this time, but I think Trump will win the popular vote this time.
I do too, and it's because of all the people that I go out and speak to when I go out and do book signings and everything. The enthusiasm for this man is really uplifting.
I've never seen anything quite like it. I was a kid during Reagan, but I remember the enthusiasm for Reagan back then. My older brother was in Teenage Republicans. Both my brothers were in TARS. One of my brothers actually met Reagan in a rope line on a high school trip to the White House, and it was completely and totally not scheduled. It was literally the kids were there. Reagan saw them and said, "Hey, I'd like to go and meet those kids." And
that's awesome.
Yeah, he got to shake hands with them. And then 2 years ago, I got to shake hands with President Trump in kind of an impromptu rope line at Trump Hotel. I was there having a cocktail, and then all of a sudden, Nick Searcy, who's a buddy of mine, came through. They were previewing Gosnell across the street at the White House, and then all of a sudden, here comes the big guy right through the door, and we got to shake hands. So it was
awesome.
It was pretty amazing. Yeah, but I think he's in good shape. it's like, I see the same enthusiasm that you do. And I don't see that on Biden's side whatsoever.
None.
Look at this train stop today. I mean, nobody showed up aside from the Trump supporters who showed up and were playing his gaps back at him.
And then he had his canned questions where they ask, and then he finally, in the middle of it, he says, I don't know who to ask. Tell me, and he turns to somebody, and I guess it's people with their canned questions that he has the canned answers to.
Yeah. This is sad. I've said from the beginning that the Biden campaign is elder abuse.
Yeah.
It's really sad. I'm just kind of like, even Obama said, Joe, you don't have to do this.
Yes. Yeah. And we're going to listen. I may not be around at my age, but years from now, people are going to say, what?
Yeah.
This man ran for president? Yeah.
It's one of those years. I interviewed Nick Searcy a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about this. He thinks that it's just like one of those elections where the party has to kind of burn off some dead wood. They've got to put somebody up there. And it might as well be Biden this year, because the likelihood of beating an incumbent president is not good. There's only been a select few who have not been reelected, and on top of that, he's a weak candidate. He doesn't represent the future, obviously, just given his age and his health. And they didn't really have a deep bench. They didn't really have someone that they could put in that primetime slot to really give Trump a run for his money. So it's just sort of like, hey,
yeah,
let Biden go do his thing. He'll more than likely lose. We'll retool and come back in 4 years, hopefully with somebody who's, actually competitive.
Well, I hate to really talk about his age because I'm 77 too.
Hey, yeah, but you know what? It's like that line in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
Harrison Ford says it's not the age, it's the mileage.
That's right.
Biden's got a lot of mileage, because he and Trump aren't that far apart.
He had so many serious illnesses. He had the brain aneurysm, and you will look on videos of him in 2016. It's a different man that's standing here in 2020. It's not the same man. So I think he's probably had some little strokes.
Oh, Juanita, I see a difference in the Biden that performed in the debates, the Democrat debates, than I do to the guy today. I think that
there's no comparison. Yeah.
I mean, this politics thing, it takes a tremendous amount of stress.
Yeah.
Or it kind of inflicts a tremendous amount of stress on you. It takes a lot out of you. And I'm just watching this guy and I'm thinking to myself, okay, he doesn't have to do this. There's a deck chair and a drink and a scotch waiting for this guy. And he's got grandkids and great grandkids. What does he need this for? The party wanted him. He's doing it for the party.
He's just doing it for the party. He's not going to be president if there's any way in God's heaven that he can win, which I don't think there is. He will not. He'll go to the bed and lay down, and somebody else will take over. But don't you think he burned his bridges with Bernie last night?
Well, I mean, he signs on to this Bernie manifesto. He signs on to the Green New Deal. And then all of a sudden, there is no manifesto, and he's not for the Green New Deal. And I'm sure that was probably news to all the Democrats out there. Even
on his webpage, it's on his page.
It's on his webpage, right?
But he denied it last night.
Well, even Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who we refer to here on the show as Sandy, Sandy the bartender, she even said in an interview, I think last week, we'll be able to pull Biden to the left. We'll be able to.
I saw that.
Yeah. Yeah. We reported on that, and I was just kind of like, okay, that's the plan.
Yeah,
that's
the play.
Yeah,
they're going to mold him every which way.
Well, and they can. They can with that guy. Probably not with some other people, but they definitely can with him. Yeah. So. Yeah, it's this has been just the craziest election. I thought 2016 was nuts, but this has just been absolutely the most insane election I think I've ever seen for multiple reasons. COVID being one of them, because there's no crowds, there's no audience. It's just weird. It's almost kind of like I feel like I'm being cheated out of an election this year, because we're kind of getting this half election in a way.
Yeah,
it's very strange, but I'm with you. I think the enthusiasm's there. You know, it reminds me of the enthusiasm for Reagan when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And just kind of being attentive to what was going on and paying attention. And I think Trump's gonna win it. So
Yeah.
you know, it's like I said, the only thing that they've got up their sleeve as far as an ace is this voter shenanigans. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you so much for being here today.
You're so welcome. I enjoyed it. It's just like having coffee, talking with somebody.
Hey, come back, please. We'd love to have you back on, and maybe we can do something, you know, in the coming weeks, you know, after the next debate to see if there's any change, or if you know, or if you know, I'm really interested to see these moderators, like we were talking about, how they're going to change the format so they can somehow control the candidates better. I don't know how you shut Trump up. I don't know. I mean, short of shutting off his mic, and if you do that, boy, he's going to go like to DEFCON 1, that's for sure.
Yeah, but you're going to have to do something that they don't butt in to each other. And Trump's just got to come back and pound down on him on what he just said.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, thanks again. Everybody go out and buy Juanita's book. Definitely check that out. We've got, I'm going to link that in the comments section on this video, so everybody's got that. Okay. And please come back, and thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for having me, Brett.
Everyone, make sure and check out thepoliticalinsider.com and subscribe to our newsletter so you never miss out on any of our stories from our talented writers. Also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Please like and share this video far and wide so you never miss, actually share this video far and wide, because YouTube is definitely going to suppress it. Social media is going to suppress it. So we rely on all of you out there to share this stuff, and we really appreciate it. Also, subscribe to the Political Insider YouTube channel. Hit the bell for notifications so you never miss any of our exciting new videos like this one. And everyone have a great day, and we will see you again next time. Thanks so much.